full of soup, salads, sandwiches, and savory breakfast items. Panera Bread, where every detail matters. And inside the Dome, Lenny DiNardo will be making his second consecutive start against the Minnesota Twins, hoping for a little more luck than his last start. Royals and the Twins from the Metrodome in Minneapolis for the last time. The first pitch is next. And now the last three games of the season. Here's the Royals starting lineup presented by M&I Bank. Willie Bloomquist missed the entire Yankee series. He's back in there tonight. David DeJesus back with the team, but not in the lineup. Mitch Meyer, Billy Butler, Ryan Pena batting fourth, then Alberto Callaspo, Mark Teahen, Miguel Olivo, Alex Gordon, and Yuniesky Betancourt. Jeff Manship pitching for Minnesota. He is making his fifth start of the year. And he had been in the starting rotation. And he was replaced by Francisco Liriano in a game on Sunday at Kauffman Stadium. And the Royals beating Francisco Liriano. And then Manship regaining that spot. And here's the Kia scouting report.
Manship had a 12-6 curveball, and that's usually one of the better curveballs, and a little tough curveball for the umpires to call. And opponents hitting 196 in 5 Metrodome games, so home cooking is definitely good for him.
Two balls, two strikes. Royals have faced Jeff Manship twice before tonight, both for relief appearances. And Willie Bloomquist 2 for 2 with a double. So Trey Hillman had to shake up the top part of the batting order with both Bloomquist and DeJesus unavailable in New York. Yuniesky Betancourt batted second. Mitch Meyer led off. Still 3-2 on Bloomquist. Off the fist and over Cabrera into center field. Nice and comfortable inside the Metrodome. If we were playing outside, we might have had a rain delay. Certainly no batting practice. A lot of rain the last 2 days, but 68 degrees inside, 47 outside. Started at 7:10. Time and temp brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. And a strike on Mitch Meyer, who led off the 3 games in New York, was just 1 for 11. Drove in a run, had a couple of walks. Oh, and 2. Jeff Manship is from the University of Notre Dame and was drafted by the Twins in 2006. In the 14th round, he was called up last month. In fact, the Royals were here in Minnesota when he was called up, but he didn't appear in that series. He came on in relief of Liriano in that game at Kauffman Stadium on Sunday and pitched very well. Gave up 1 run in 3 2/3 innings and struck out 5. That was the same game that Zach Greinke picked up his 16th victory of the year. Willie Bloomquist with 24 stolen bases, second only to Josh Anderson. Tolbert, right in front of his own dugout, is called out by Mauer. Minnesota defensively, and they have committed the fewest errors in the American League, although they made 4 yesterday in Detroit with Young, Span, and Kubel in the outfield. Tolbert, Cabrera, Punto, and Kadire. And Joe Mauer, who won his first Gold Glove last year, at the plate this year. He's going for his 3rd batting title in 4 years. So Bloomquist at first, 1 out for Billy Butler, who needs 7 RBIs in this series to hit 100. Bloomquist takes off and the ball hit him. So a painful way to get your 25th stolen base. Bloomquist at second base with 1 out.
Well, I know Willie was going to run at some point in this at bat, but you know, you look at this throw down to second base, is a good throw, but you see the fielder's on the outside of the second base. So when you put the runner between you and the ball, that's what happens. He's got to get inside the bag and come down the line and try to make the play that way. When you catch those infielders behind you, then Willie gets hit with his ball. He gets inside, he might catch the ball and make the tag. So if I'm Joe Mauer, I'm going to question that one.
Willie pulls it through the left side, but Bloomquist had to hold. So Butler will not get an RBI with that base hit. But the Royals are in business with runners at first and third and 1 out.
And one thing that Ron Garnhart said, Ryan, was that he was going to watch Manship pretty close because he doesn't want this game to get out of hand. He wants to try to keep the Royals from having a big inning. So this is a change up down and in, and Billy just hits his ball in the hole. But I think that's what you got to pay attention to, is knowing when to pull the plug on pitchers in this game. It's such an important game for them.
In order to win the division outright, the Twins need to sweep the Royals, and the White Sox need to sweep the Tigers in Detroit. To second base, and the Twins get out of it. M&I Bank. Denard Span, Orlando Cabrera, Joe Mauer. Jason Kubel bats fourth with Justin Morneau out, followed by Michael Kadire, who is hot at the moment. Then Delman Young, Brendan Harris, the DH, followed by Matt Tolbert and Nick Punto. Denard Span leading off, and here's Joel Goldberg.
Guys, I had a chance to talk to Denard Span, and he said that the team right now, the Twins, are as loose as he has seen them in the last 2 weeks, maybe even the last month. He said, we're not supposed to win this division anymore. We have nothing to lose whatsoever. Just going to go out there and play the game, try to have a good time over the next 3 days and see what happens. They know they need a lot of help from the White Sox, got to do the work themselves as well. And the other thing that he said was, when I asked him, guys, I said, all right, going to be any scoreboard watching? A big smile crept across his face, and he said, absolutely. He said, anybody that tells you otherwise isn't telling you the truth. He said, when he's batting, he's not going to look, but in between innings in the dugout, yes, they'll be keeping their eye on it. Guys?
Tough play in shallow center. Betancourt runs it down. Well, as I said before the end of the last inning, a sweep by the Twins and a sweep by the White Sox over the Tigers. The Twins win the division. The Twins, if they sweep the Royals and the White Sox win 2 out of 3, then there will be a tie and a one-game playoff. Here's the Kia scouting report on Lenny DiNardo.
Well, look at those averages, Ryan. They get better as the second time through, third time through. So he's going to really have to stay ahead of these hitters if he wants those numbers to come down tonight. Get some ground balls and let his defense help him play.
Very interesting number at the bottom of that scouting report. The goal for every pitcher is to be 0-1 on every hitter, but that has not been a good count for him.
Well, that's not coming back and making a good pitch after that. You get ahead of the hitters, and you got to come back with another good pitch following that. But obviously, he's in the middle of the plate, and that's why that number goes up.
The Twins put the pressure on Lenny, seems like the entire game back on Saturday. They had the leadoff man on in 5 of 6 innings. The big inning for Minnesota was a 5-run 4th inning, but 4 of those runs were unearned after a Yuniesky Betancourt error. 3-2 on Cabrera. Cabrera has a 12-game hitting streak coming into tonight, and he has also scored at least 1 run over that stretch. Make it 13. Take a look at the Royals defensively. Willie Bloomquist will be out in left field with Mitch Meyer and Mark Teahen. On the infield, Alex Gordon, Yuniesky Betancourt, Alberto Callaspo, and Billy Butler, who has made 140 starts. Miguel Olivo behind the plate for DiNardo. What do you think of Billy's year defensively?
Well, Ronnie's obviously made big strides, and it's one of those situations where you got to keep picking on little things to get better with. But as far as the routine play, he's done a great job there, learning what balls to go for, what balls not to go for. That's usually one of the tougher things, and he's really making an adjustment there. Now it's a matter of just agility around the bag on high throws down the line, and maybe throws from the pitcher in terms of knowing when to get down and dirty with the runner. But overall, you got to give him an A on the improvement, because he's come a much further than everybody thought he would.
Early in the season, he had Mark Teahen at second base. He had Willie Bloomquist at second base. Alberto Callaspo at second base. But after the first month or so, it's almost Callaspo every day. Joe Mauer adds to his average. And the Twins, like the Royals, have first and third with 1 out in the first.
Well, this is where DiNardo gets in trouble. This ball's supposed to be on the outer half. It's right down the middle of the plate, and Mauer gets a base hit here. And it just goes back to what's his strength, and just getting the ball down, making it sink with the cutter, getting this ground ball. So far, he hasn't been able to get that done. Well, getting back to Billy, I think once you get a second baseman that communicates really well with him, make sure he knows what balls to go for, what balls not to go for, I think he'll get even better at that position. But now it's all about scooping balls in the dirt, giving your other infielders some confidence they can throw the ball in the dirt, just a little high, just a little wide, and that play's still going to get made.
Oh, 0-1 to Kubel. No balls, 2 strikes. Well, something to watch during the offseason. Will the Royals leave Alberto Callaspo at second base? And if so, will they then move someone like Alex Gordon or Mark Teahen to first for a little more range? Or will the Royals upgrade defensively at second base, move Callaspo somewhere else? And if so, if you have a second baseman with good range, does Billy Butler remain the first baseman?
Well, I think it's going to be hard for him not to be the first baseman if you can't come up with a combination that's going to prove that you're better at that position. And then you got to say, well, if Billy Butler's not playing first base and if he's strictly DHing, is he going to give you the offense that he gave you this year? So sometimes the two kind of go together. And if you lose confidence that he can't play first base, and sometimes they lose confidence they can't do anything, that's going to equate to what he did this year. So I think that's going to be the question. And Billy's one of those guys that thrives definitely on confidence. And if you show a lot of confidence in him, he seems to thrive a lot better.
Now DiNardo gets a ground ball, but hard hit off of Callaspo, and Minnesota takes a 1-0 lead. It was razor slim, but the Royals did have a shot at getting a double play like Minnesota did.
Well, this is on this turf right here, Ryan. This is a hot one hopper with some top spin, and Alberto just really didn't get to this ball. This ball really was buying, and it always goes back to your body position. If you go to just catch that ball and knock it down, it's a different approach than trying to do the maneuver that he used right there.
Now ball one on Kadire, who collected his 90th RBI in Detroit yesterday, giving Minnesota at least 4 hitters with 90 RBIs or more. They have never done that in their franchise history. So Mauer, Kubel, Kadire, and Morneau, who is done for the year. That location there was really a problem for DiNardo against Minnesota on Saturday, a guy who tries to pitch the right-handers inside and the lefties away. He was missing up and away to the righties all game. So there again, Olivo's set up inside and the pitch misses away.
And really, that's the pitch that really I liked about him in the second start. He was able to get that cutter down underneath his swing, and that's where he gets his ground balls on that cutter. And then his last couple outings, his changeup has been out there, his fastball's been out there, so he's got to make some kind of adjustment to get that ball down.
Kadire was on his way to first. Tim Timmons, the home plate umpire, said not so fast. Kadire is a big double play candidate, and he has grounded into 22 this year. Ball 4, bases loaded, 1 out. So 3 hits and a walk. And before DiNardo is finished digging up the mound, he's in trouble. And before Delman Young comes up, we'll take a look at tonight's You Call It, presented by Sprint. What do you believe is the Royals' most important offseason concern? Starting pitching, relief pitching, middle infield, or center field. Text 432-432. Enter keyword Royals, a space, and then A, B, C, or D. Ball one on Delmon Young, who was involved in a very interesting situation yesterday in Detroit. He was hit by a pitch from Jeremy Bonderman late in the game, which appeared to be retaliation after left-hander Jose Mijares threw behind the Tigers' Adam Everett. Drilled into deep left center. Minnesota's taken a 5-0 lead. Salute Delmon Young again if he would come out for a curtain call, and he did.
Well, Ryan, the only thing I can say is we're glad we have headsets on today, because I've been in here when it's been this full. It's almost sellout tonight, and you leave out of here and your ears are ringing a lot of times. So I mean, he just left this ball up out over the plate, and he's been having a hard time getting the ball down, and Delmon Young parked this one in the left center field for a grand slam.
Now 2-1 on Brendan Harris. So anyway, before I was rudely interrupted by Delmon Young's grand slam, he was hit by a pitch, but on his way to first base, he started yelling at his own dugout. Gordon in at third, and Harris is the second out. So he was more upset at Jose Mijares, who he felt started all this by pitching behind Adam Everett. Here's the pitch from Mijares. And then in the next half inning, Bonderman hitting Young. Young knew it was coming, but he wasn't upset at Bonderman. He was upset at his own guy.
Well, that's the first time in my history of the game that I've seen a bench clearing for a guy that's mad at his own teammate. So that was the first time I've seen that.
And after the game, Ron Gardenhire said that he had called Jim Leyland and apologized for Mijares. Even his own teammates were calling it a very selfish act. Minnesota had a big lead, and what happened was the Tigers, with runners at first and second, and the Twins not worried about the runners, they both moved up a base, not stolen bases, defensive indifference. Mijares was upset at that and threw behind Adam Everett.
Well, I think pitchers need to understand the rules a little bit better. When you're holding a guy on at first base, if you're playing up behind him, then that guy's not going to run. But when you play back on the back of the line and tell the other team, I'm going to play back here to improve my defense, but I don't want you to run, that's not going to work.
This is a 32-pitch nightmare for Lenny DiNardo. He's going to face at least all 9. And he's already down 5-0. Victor Marte is already throwing in the Royals bullpen. And pitch number 33 is a strike to Nick Punto. So right now, everyone in Minnesota feeling good as the Twins are ahead 5-0, and Chicago is leading Detroit 3-0 in the 6th inning. Right at Meyer in center field. So Minnesota with 5-4 coming on a grand slam from Delmon Young. For him after his grand slam in the bottom of the first. So Minnesota leads by 5, and now Chicago leading by 3 in Detroit. Royals will send up Alberto Callaspo, Mark Teahen, and Miguel Olivo. Alberto dropping down to 298 after the Yankees series, going just 1 for 10. He did walk 3 times. Royals had runners at first and third and 1 out in the top of the first, but Manship was able to get Brian Pena to ground into a double play. 1-2. Pretty consistent.
You know, you talked about we looked at the wish list for next year. Then you have to ask yourself, what are the Royals' most pressing needs? And you say maybe more range at second base, but are they going to be able to find that range at second base? That's going to try the same offense.
Well, the Royals are committed to Yuniesky Betancourt after this year. So perhaps Mike Aviles, if he's ready to go for 2010. Played very well for the Royals last year at shortstop, but is also a good second baseman.
Well, he's played them all, and all through the minor league, second and AA, AAA, and he did have some experience in the major league. So that could be a nice option to have, but you just have to wait and see if he can regain that offensive form that he had before his injury.
Betancourt signed through 2011. 1-1 on Mark Teahen. Hit his 12th home run of the year in New York. Had 4 hits, a couple of walks. He has only driven in 1 run all season against Minnesota. To the opposite field. Well, that is no surprise there. We get a packet of statistics before the beginning of every series, and one of them broke down Mark Teahen hitting to the opposite field and pulling the ball. And when Mark Teahen puts the ball in play to the opposite field, he's hitting .441. Only Joe Mauer has a better average in the major leagues this year.
And that just goes back to being consistent, Ryan, just knowing what you do best and staying with it. And that's why Mauer is so consistent with his batting average day in and day out, is because he doesn't try to change. Where sometimes Mark will get in that habit where he's trying to pull the ball a little too much, and then he'll start rolling over, hitting ground balls, and that's when the strikeouts go up also. So if he stays right there, then he could be just as devastating a hitter as any in the American League.
And if he needs more evidence, Frank, when Mark Teahen pulls the ball and puts in play, he hits .251. That is the lowest of any regular player in the American League when they pull the ball. So those numbers speak volumes.
And I don't know if they've been presented to him that way, but I tell you, it doesn't take a brain scientist to know what works. And you just got to go up there and just force yourself day in and day out to have the same approach, and you'll have the same success.
Miguel Olivo only played in 1 game in New York. He was 0 for 3. Opposite of Teahen, Olivo has played very well against the Twins this year, hitting over .360, and he has driven in 10 runs. To Cuddyer, he'll go down to second, and the throw ends up in the Royals dugout. Well, the Twins get the second out. They get Teahen, and Olivo will go down to second base.
So Cuddyer does a real good job here getting the ball down to Cabrera. Now what Cabrera does here is he tries to throw the ball over Teahen at second base rather than trying to throw the ball through him down the line, and that's why that ball went where it went in the dugout. You can't let the base runner alter your throw. You got to throw the ball right down the line. If he's in the way, then he's just in the way.
So Cabrera charged with the air, and that's the Twins' 5th error in the last 2 games. 0-1 to Alex Gordon, 1 for 6 in New York with a run scored. He has not seen Jeff Manship yet. A little bit inside. Tolbert going out near the Twins bullpen and couldn't make the play.
Yeah, Tolbert went a long way, and you have to ask yourself, how well did he see this ball when it was up against the baggy on top? But he covered a lot of ground. He got there, made the right move at the end, but went right off the end of his glove.
Tolbert now the regular third baseman for the Twins ever since Joe Crede went down with another back injury. Crede having back surgery for the 3rd consecutive year. 2-2 on Alex Gordon. The Twins have no idea what they're going to get from Manship as he has bounced back and forth from the rotation to the bullpen. But what they do know is he has only pitched more than 4 1/3 innings this year in an outing only once. He strikes out Gordon, and the Royals leave Olivo at second base. Five to nothing Minnesota. Now's a good time to secure your seats for the 2010 season. If you're looking at Royals season tickets, many packages are available, and season ticket holders have the lowest ticket prices, up to 30% off the regular box office prices. Contact the Royals at 816-504-4040 or at seasonsales@royals.com. Denard Span right over Butler and up against the wall. After getting 5 in the first inning and all 9 coming to the plate, Denard Span leads off the second with a double.
Yeah, he waits a long time, even against left-handed pitchers. See how long he waits, and he just lets his ball travel and just uses his hand. Donato left his ball up, out over the plate, and he just turned on it right down the right field line.
Denard Span, remember, had those 6 RBIs against the Royals on Saturday, and that was the night that DiNardo pitched against Minnesota. And among those hits, a bases clearing triple.
You know what, Carlos Gomez being the projected leadoff guy for these guys coming in the 09 season, he got up to a real bad start, and Denard Span, they have to be really happy with what he's done since he moved into the leadoff spot.
Oh, and 2 on Orlando Cabrera. He singled, scored on a Jason Kubel base hit in the first. Well, that's a pretty good draft. Consecutive years in the first round. In 2001, Minnesota got Joe Mauer, and in 2002, they got Denard Span. And now Span gets on base, and Mauer gets him home.
Well, it's just nice to see him in the major leagues producing, and that tells you that it was a good draft.
Well, the Twins already with 5 runs, 6 hits in 1 inning plus 1 batter. And it doesn't get any easier after Cabrera. Cabrera's base hit and run scored in the first. That gives him 13 consecutive games where he's had at least 1 hit and at least 1 run scored. Off of DiNardo's glove, and in first and third, nobody out.
Now this play right here by DiNardo, this is a tough play. Chances are it won't be much of a play at first base, but just not. You got to catch that ball. You cannot not catch that ball. And DiNardo's had trouble on balls hit back to the mound in his last 2 starts.
DiNardo will be charged with an error. And the Royals with their 117th error of the year. That is the most in the American League. And now all DiNardo has to do is get past Joe Mauer. He singled and scored in the first inning. So he is at 369. (2-0).
I talked to Joe Mauer during batting practice, and I was really kind of interested to see what kind of shape his legs were in since he catches so many games, and I was wondering if he did a little more lifting with his legs to try to stay strong. He says no. He told you to ride the bike. He said bike riding conditions his legs, and he thinks that's all he needs to do is just keep everything toned. He doesn't have to really do a lot of weightlifting to be strong to get through the game.
Just looking at those last numbers, it would be almost impossible for him not to win the batting title this year. He has quite a lead over Ichiro Suzuki. The Twins and the Tigers played a day-night doubleheader on Friday. Mauer caught both games this late in the season, but of course those games were so important.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to come in the clubhouse this weekend and say I'm tired. I think everybody's going to come in ready to go.
I need a game off.
Yeah. You take a day off this weekend, you might take a career off.
Mauer is 26 out of 56 against the Royals with 12 RBIs. First and third, nobody out. The number that just blows me away is Mauer is 6th in the league in hits. And you say, well, so what? I mean, he's leading the league in hitting. Only 5 players in the league have more hits than him, and they all had 1 more month. He didn't start playing until early May. And now he takes a walk. Now, I can understand the batting average because that's just an average of how many hits compared to how many at-bats. But to be that high in hits and to be 1 month behind everyone else, that's how good he's been. Lenny DiNardo is coming out after the second inning. We'll get Jason Kubel, Michael Cuddyer, and Delmon Young. So a tough outing for DiNardo. You figure this is his last appearance, his last chance to make an impression on the Royals. He gives up 5 in the first, including a grand slam and a double, his own error, and a walk in the second. Kubel with his 95th RBI in the first inning. A single driving in Orlando Cabrera. And then he scored with Mauer and Cuddyer on the Delmon Young grand slam. So it's 5-0 Minnesota. And in Detroit, it's 8-0 White Sox. So nothing but good news for Twins fans so far. 1-1.
You would have figured that game with Edwin Jackson going tonight with Peavy, that'd be a close score, but so the White Sox that come into play this last weekend of the season, and Detroit just had they just had a miserable second half. And
5 grand slams for Jason Kubel. One of those grand slams early this season helped him complete the cycle against the Angels. It was his final hit to complete the cycle. It was in the 8th inning and put Minnesota in front to win the game. Marte gets a strikeout, so now he can get a ground ball and a double play. He can get out of this mess. But he'll have to get past Michael Cuddyer, who has 30 home runs, 6 against the Royals. He has driven in 15 against the Royals. Ball 1. Cuddyer taking over at first, and for a while was batting fourth when Justin Morneau went down. And for whatever reason, that got the Twins going. Minnesota was 2 games below 500 when Morneau was done for the year. And many thought, well, nice season for the Twins, but that's the end of that. Well, the Twins won 13 of 17 after they learned Justin Morneau was finished for the year with a stress fracture in his back. And that really put a charge into Cuddyer. 3-0.
Well, that's a good mark of a good ball club, Ryan. When one of your key players go out, who's going to step up? And Cuddyer not only stepped up offensively, but he also stepped up playing defense at first base. Delmon Young stepped up. He was a guy who went early in the season from not playing to a guy that's playing all night. He's got back up to 280. He's got 9 home runs, or 10 with the grand slam tonight, and he's about 54 ribbies. So all these guys had to up their game a little bit, and picking up Cabrera at shortstop, was a big plus for those guys. A lot of changes from the beginning. At the beginning, Punto wasn't cold. Now he's hot. He's playing every day, and some guys who started off the season not playing very well, finally picked up their game, and they started living up to why they were signed to the long-term contract.
6-0 Twins. So Marte comes on, gets a strikeout. Now a bases loaded walk. So a bad inning so far for the Royals. On its way to being very ugly with 2 walks and an error. And Delmon Young bats again with the bases loaded. This time he pulls it to Gordon. Out at second. And Castro got tangled up with Cuddyer. No double play, and a run scores. Royals had a chance for a double play, Frank, but there was no rhythm whatsoever to that play.
Well, you're right, Ryan. This is one that Alex Gordon didn't really realize he had the ball, and that's a terrible throw to second base. And Cashwell, after jumping over the runner, should have just held this ball. He should have never thrown this ball here, Ryan.
So Young is driven in 5 as he gets Cabrera to the plate. And runners at the corners for Brendan Harris. No swing. First base umpire is Mark Wegner. So Delmon Young tying a career high with 5 RBIs. Brendan Harris grounded out to third in the first inning. 1-1.
It just seems like when one guy doesn't fill the ball cleanly, it doesn't translate into a clean play all around. Usually when it starts bad, it always ends bad.
And this one was no exception.
It was no exception, and it's just a matter of just trying to manage the game. Cashwell really, after he was taken out of that play, should have just held that ball. He could have easily thrown that ball in the dugout also. So
and how many times have we said that this year?
We've said it a lot because part of their job is just managing the game. Don't let the game get crazy, and when it speeds up, you got to be able to slow it down and do what the game is telling you to do.
Gordon comes in from third. The inning is over, but the Twins score 2 and now have a 7-0 lead. Delmon Young tying a career high with 5 RBIs, and he's done that in the first 2 innings with a grand slam in the first and driving in a run with a fielder's choice in the second. Both of Minnesota's runs in the second were unearned because of the DiNardo error. So the Royals have a long ways to go. They'll send up Betancourt, Bloomquist, and Meyer in the third against Jeff Manship. Manship getting out of a first and third, 1 out in the first inning. Ryan Pena grounding into a double play. And then worked around an error by Orlando Cabrera in the second. And as he should be doing with a 7-run lead, throwing strikes. One big reason why Manship is pitching in the first place because of injuries, and we were talking about that last half inning, and just going through some of the players that have been injured for Minnesota. Of course, Joe Mauer missed the first month. Jesse Crain, one of their reliable relievers, has been on the disabled list. Scott Baker started the year on the DL. They have lost Glenn Perkins and Kevin Slowey, parts of their starting rotation, to injuries. And Chip strikes out his second, one away in the third. Francisco Liriano, who has been flip-flopping with Manship in this spot in the rotation, he spent some time on the DL, and the Twins were hoping for a big season from him. And then, of course, Joe Crede, with more back injuries, is done for the year, and Justin Morneau with his bad back. But the Twins have been able to hold it together and come into tonight's game 7 games above 500.
Well, you gotta pat him on the back, because you know, I've said all along, so injuries a lot of times will affect the one-loss record, but it really shouldn't affect the way you play the game. And they never changed the way they played the game because of their injuries, and they've been able to weather the storm and get back in the race and be in the position they're in right now. But I mean, it could have easily used injuries as an excuse not to play well, and everything else could have went down in the division with him. But Ron Gardenhire held them together, and he just continued to pound the fundamentals. I talked to Tony Olivo, and he said, hey, we bunt every day. He said, we make sure that we bunt every day at home, and we want to make sure those fundamentals stay together.
Bloomquist singled in the first inning, then stole his 25th base. Cabrera near the bag, throws him out. Well, to add to your point, Frank, all of the injuries and the names and the faces have changed over the last several years, as is the case with just about every team this year. But one thing that hasn't changed, the Minnesota Twins throw strikes, and they have allowed the fewest walks in the American League again, and they commit the fewest errors again. And you really can't say the only difference between the Royals and the Twins is just a couple of statistics. But the Royals have walked the most and have committed the most errors. So if the Royals are on the other end of that, what would their season look like?
Well, you could probably reverse the positions of the two teams. You can't walk guys, and you can't make errors. Those are two recipes for disaster, and that will definitely give you a L on the other end of your name. But you know, Minnesota's always had that in them, that they're going to come out, they're going to play good fundamental baseball, but it's the guys that replace the guys that get hurt. These are the guys that come in, and you don't lose anything defensively, you got a chance to recover.
Royals down quickly in the third. To learn more, visit kia.com. And by AT&T, switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Next year, we will have some views not unlike that one when the Royals are playing the Twins. Target Field. A question that comes up second only to, well, how are the Twins going to like Target Field when they lose all that batting practice in April and September because of the weather and the cold and the rain and on and on? That's the first question that comes up. But the one right behind it is, what kind of, if any, home field advantage will the Twins have at their new ballpark? Because they've enjoyed one of the best home field advantages in baseball for many, many years inside the dome.
Well, this has been a place where no one's wanted to come with something on the line because of that home field advantage, whether it be the number of people that come to the ball game, the type of surface you're playing on, and that was really one of the key things with the surface, the ability not to see the ball right away in the air. There's a lot of pluses to playing inside the dome that really helps the Minnesota Twins.
Matt Tolbert singled in the first inning with Nick Punto and Denard Span to follow. Pulls it to the right side, and Callaspo cuts it off. Well, our next Royals telecast on Fox Sports Kansas City will come from spring training next year. We'll be back for another big schedule, starting with spring training coverage from Surprise. And we really want to thank everyone for watching the Royals this year on Fox Sports Kansas City. 142 broadcasts, including our 2 from Surprise. Tonight being our final television broadcast. You can catch the next 2 on the Royals radio network. Nick Punto flied out to center field in the first inning as the Twins batted all 9 and scored 5. Delman Young with a grand slam, and then Minnesota added 2 unearned runs in the second inning. Victor Marte picking up for Lenny DiNardo as the first 3 reached against DiNardo in the second. Marte coming on. And both runs scored after he entered the game, one of them on a bases loaded walk. Three and one. This is the perfect team for Nick Punto. This is the type of team that he can play for, even though he's hitting .233. He plays some defense. He can get a bunt down. He leads the league in sacrifice bunts. And even when he's not hitting, he has a good eye. And he's on base with a 1-out walk. Top of the order coming up for Minnesota. And once again, here's Joe Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about Zach Greinke pitching tomorrow being the definite front runner for Cy Young. Most people believe Felix Hernandez is second, but, you know, there's always those writers out there, some of them at least, that'll vote for the guy with the most wins if he's well ahead of everybody else. CC Sabathia was gunning for win number 20 tonight. He only made it 2 2/3 innings against Tampa. 2 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 9 runs, 5 of them were earned, so he finishes at 19-7 with a 3.37 ERA, guys.
All right, Joel Meyer getting behind the fly ball to center field. Well, not rooting against CC Sabathia. He's one of the good guys in the game, but that's good news for Zach.
Well, you're definitely right about that, and I'm sure Zach probably is aware of that too by now. He may not talk about it, but when you get your competition, you always want to keep an eye on your competition. And I tell you what, 20 wins would have been huge, you know, for Sabathia if he'd got that number 20. So that makes tomorrow's game a big game for Zach.
Now all of a sudden, if Zach wins, he is only 2 wins off the leader. It was a little over a month ago that people were saying, you know, Zach is probably the best pitcher in the American League, but he's not going to win the Cy Young because he only had 13 wins. And then a couple of no decisions after that, so he was still at 13 wins, but now 3 wins in a row. Cabrera almost took off Marte's cap. So he's been on base 3 times with a couple of hits. Punto over to third, and that means 2 on for Mauer.
As you were talking about Zach Ryan, the thing that really impressed me about him was that when the team wasn't scoring him runs, he not only went out and kept the score down, he really kept the score down. I mean, his ERA just kept shrinking every time he went out there. And a lot of hitters would have felt that. I mean, a lot of pitchers would have felt that pressure of going out knowing you're not going to get a lot of runs and maybe trying to overdo things and really get knocked around. But he just got better and better as the season went along.
Mauer is singled and walked. He's done a lot of that this year. The league leader in hits, or a batting average, and in on-base percentage. One and one against Victor Marte. 188 hits for a guy who missed an entire month. And then he returned against the Royals here at the Metrodome in early May. And the first pitch that he saw from Sidney Ponson, he hit over the wall in left field. And the Twins were concerned about Mauer because he had back problems, which a back problem is really no good for any player, but especially a catcher that's going in and out of a crouch all night. So the Twins were a little worried that, maybe not worried, but were ready for him to get off to a slow start. But there was no such thing. 2-2.
You know, maybe one thing that really helped him, Ryan, was the fact that they didn't try to rush him back. You know, they wanted to make sure that he was 100% and then some before they brought him back, and he didn't really rush himself back, and I think that's why you survive real bad situations from an injury standpoint is how much time you take before you get back in there.
Marte strikes him out with 2 on. 7-0 Minnesota going into the fourth inning, getting 5 in the first. Here's tonight's Roadrunner Turbo Speed Pitch comparison. Jeff Manship in his 3 scoreless innings so far is topped out at 92. Victor Marte at 96. He replaced Lenny DiNardo in the second inning. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Billy Butler, Brian Pena, and Alberto Callaspo in the fourth inning. Billy singled to left in the first. And the Royals had runners at first and third with 1 out. So they were putting some pressure on Manship right away. But then Brian Pena grounded into an inning-ending double play. Did he go? No swing. Tonight's league leaders brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. And where Billy Butler ranks in the American League, of course, 51 doubles, so he needs 3 to tie the team record. Going for 300 total bases this year, 182 hits. Also hitting for batting average, 11th in the league at 307. It'll go down with that ground ball to short, and he's 1 for 2. Here's this week's AAMCO AA MCO clutch play of the week. Zach Greinke against Minnesota. Sunday at Kauffman Stadium, winning his 16th game. And the Royals gave Zach quite a bit of run support early, as the Twins have done for Jeff Manship tonight. And Zach tomorrow pitching in game 2, a game that can be seen on the Fox network. 3 o'clock Central Time. Oh, and 2 on Pena, rolled into a 4-6-3 double play. Slaps it to short. And Jeff Manship has gotten an out against the last 7. Two errors for Minnesota, one error committed by Orlando Cabrera, and they had 4 yesterday. The Cabrera error did not result in a run for the Royals, but Lenny DiNardo's error in the second inning resulted in 2 more runs for Minnesota. Callaspo flied out to center field in the second inning. Alberto just 1 for 11 on the trip. Two and 1. Three balls, 1 strike.
Manship's having a hard time getting that. Looks like it's a sort of a power changeup. It's sort of starting at the outside corner, just running straight away at 84, 85 miles an hour. He's got a lot of movement on it, but he just got to get a little more plate in order to get the left-handers to chase it.
Line to center, and Callaspo is 1 for 2. This week it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, beginning with Eli Manning and the Giants taking on the Chiefs. Then Tony Romo and the Cowboys head to Denver to take on the Broncos. Coverage begins Sunday with America's #1 pregame show at 11 a.m. Central. And are they ever talking about football around here again with Brett Favre and the 3-0 Vikings?
They will be hosting the Packers for Monday Night Football, and all the Monday Night Football trucks are already here, all 27 of them. Mark has written on his batting gloves, "Circle me Bert," in reference to Bert Blyleven, the former Twins great pitcher and longtime broadcaster. And you might already know about fans who will bring signs to the game that say "Circle me Bert," and with the telestrator he will acknowledge the fan, circle them on the telestrator. And so Mark Teahen wants to get in on the fun. Although Bert's going to have to really pay close attention tonight to pick that one up. Hold the Kadire, inning over. So Jeff Manship has held the Royals scoreless for 4. Fourth, he has struck out 2, including Jason Kubel, who leads off in the second, or here in the fourth. Marte struck him out in the second. Here's the Arby's pitch by pitch.
Yeah, Marte came out running real good slider. He got it down underneath his swing and fastball away, and just finished him off with sliders. And that's a real nice, tight breaking slider. Just right now, just with Marte, the thing that I just noticed with him is just if he can just improve his command. He's got the pitch repertoire. He can get up to 96. The slider's tight. But just throw more actual strikes. And I think that can be a lot of the Royals pitchers across the board.
It's got to be a challenge for every pitcher when they get to the big leagues for the first time to be comfortable with pitching to contact.
It's amazing how the teams that do always seem to win, and the ones that don't, the walks go up, they have big innings, they play slow games, and the defense is constantly under pressure. But I always go back to command too. If you can't throw the ball down the middle of the plate, how can you throw it to the corner? So why don't you just throw the ball down the middle of the plate, keep it down, let the hitters hit it, try to get them out, then stick with them. Once you improve your command to where you can spot the ball where you want, then you can have a lot more success.
Big swing and off the football press box. Jason Kubel with his 25th home run of the year.
This is just a blast right here, Ryan. This ball here just middle end right down the middle of the plate, and Kuba hits this ball well. This ball would have been out of pretty much any ballpark in the American League. But you got to get ahead of them. You get hitters, you get behind hitters, and you set yourself up for situations like that.
So that gives the Minnesota Twins another hitter with 25 home runs. They go with Morneau, Mauer, Cuddyer, now Jason Kubel. One and one to Cuddyer, 2 walks, one with the bases loaded for his 91st RBI, and he scored a run after walking back in the first. The foul ball came up and got him.
That slider going down and away, and he, rather than going with it, he tried to pull it and rolled over the top of it. That backspin just brought it right back up into his body. Yeah, I've seen guys, and I've done it myself, trying to hit the slider like that, and that backspin comes up, and he actually hit himself in a good spot, which was in the chest. I've hit myself underneath the chin before doing that, so that happens quite often.
Every time I see Michael Cuddyer, I can't help but think of Mark Teahen, because Cuddyer for several years in Minnesota just kind of bounced around different positions, bounced around in the batting order, and was a good player, an okay player. But when the Twins said, "You are going to be our right fielder," of course he's playing first base now with Morneau hurt, "You're going to be our right fielder and our number 4 hitter, and we're just going to leave you there." That's when his career really took off.
I think that happens with most players. Look how much David was to improve in left field, just playing left field only, not bouncing back between left field and center field. And even Mark Teahen, I mean, he got a good start in right field, but then he got moved back to the infield and the first base, the third base, and then back to even center field a little bit. So until he plays one position the entire season, I don't think we're ever going to see what this guy can really do.
Cuddyer walks again. Teahen in some ways is kind of like the rope in a game of tug of war. One half thinks he's better off being versatile and playing different positions. The other half feels like what we've just discussed. Just put him one place, leave him there, see what he can do. We know he can play all the different positions. What we don't know is what he would do if he played one position.
Especially on the offensive side. We just haven't, I don't think we've seen the offense that he can provide, because you see so much strength when he hits the ball the other way.
Delmon Young, who has 5 RBIs tonight, just picked up his second hit. And here come the Twins again. A run home after the Kubel home run, and now first and second, nobody out. Well, the season winding down, and if you can't wait until opening day to get your next baseball fix, Royals Fan Fest is coming back to the Overland Park Convention Center in January. You have the chance to see your favorite current and former Royals players, play interactive games for both kids and adults, and much more. Proceeds benefit Royals charities. Visit Royals.com for ticket information and event updates. Now Harris driving it to deep right, and Teahen playing it off to Baggy. Cuddyer will score. Young will stop at third. Harris with an RBI double. It is the 4th inning. There is nobody out, and Trey Hillman is going to use his 3rd pitcher already. Carlos Rosa coming on to face Matt Tolbert. call it presented by Sprint. And the Royals' most important offseason concern, 59% saying relief pitching. Only 4% concerned with what the Royals are going to do in center field. 8% starting pitching. And the middle infield, 59%. Want to see improvements in the bullpen. Carlos Rosa might be a part of that mix. The crowd is cheering because they have just seen that Chicago now has defeated Detroit 8-0, and the Twins are ahead 9-0. So it appears that when tonight is over, the Twins will be down by 1 in the Central with 2 games to play for both the Tigers and the Twins. Minnesota really needed to go into Detroit and take 3 out of 4. A sweep would have been great for them, but to give themselves a legitimate shot against the Royals and the Tigers against the White Sox, they needed to take 3 out of 4. Instead, it was a 4-game split. So Minnesota leaving Detroit still 2 games back.
Some of the Twins people felt that the doubleheader hurt. They rather take it a game at a time because it's so hard to win a doubleheader. But they thought the rain out in game 1 there really hurt the Twins. They would have rather taken it 1 game at a time, and they felt doing it that way they might have been able to take 3 out of 4.
Line to center, and Meyer makes the play. Both runners are going to tag up, and Tolbert gets Delman Young to the plate. It's 10-0 Minnesota. Big crowd here tonight, and the Twins are expecting a sellout tomorrow, and then on Sunday for the final regular season game of Major League Baseball inside the Metrodome. That curtain will go up tomorrow. So as the curtain comes down on the season, that curtain will go up to give the Twins more available seats. That curtain was constructed in 1997 to hide all of the empty seats in right field and right center, and to put up the banners of the retired numbers and the championship years in Twins history. And even with the Twins winning divisions all those years, they still weren't filling up the Metrodome except for the postseason. But they will fill up the dome tomorrow and Sunday afternoon. Of course, that curtain is gone during the football games, and I don't think the Vikings are going to have much difficulty packing this place with Green Bay coming to town.
Might be one of the, I don't know, can you say one of the number 1, number 2 top watched games of the season?
Sure. And of course, the story of Brett Favre facing his former team. Which won't have as much emotion when he goes back to Green Bay for the first time wearing purple. Three and two on Punto, who has walked and flied out to center field. Minnesota Twins winning the World Series in 1987 and 1991. And both of those years, they did not lose one single game of the World Series here. They lost every game on the road, and they won every game here. Still 3-2. Earlier tonight, we saw Jack Morris, who is part of the Twins broadcast team, and he pitched one of the greatest games in World Series history. Game 7 in '91 against Atlanta. 10 scoreless innings in a 1-0 game.
Well, you'll never question that guy's heart. I mean, I batted against him when he's with the Tigers and with the Twins, and I tell you, there wasn't nothing that wasn't professional about his game. I mean, he came out and he just went right after the hitters. He had that good sinker. He got his ground balls, but he was a competitor. I mean, when they got him over here, it was just almost like you got one of the best starters in the game at that point.
That's Dan Gladden, who scored the winning run in that Game 7 against the Braves. Punto is finally out after a long battle with Carlos Rosa.
Well, what I meant about Dan Gladden, was what we call one of those, what the old name was, dirtbaggers. You know, he was always dirty, and he had that long hair flopping behind his hat. But a very good leadoff hitter and guy that really played hard when he was on the field.
Dan Gladden was part of both the 1987 and 1991 World Championship teams. Standing at third base when Gene Larkin hit the fly ball into center field, scoring the winning run with Jack Morris chasing him to home plate, waiting for him to touch home plate. The footnote to that story, and this gets back to the outdoor ballpark. I was in college. That was my junior year at the University of Minnesota. 3 days later, we got 3.5 feet of snow. Betancourt makes the play on Span. Minnesota scores 3 more, and they lead by 10. Good September. They went 18-8, but there was a question as to whether the Twins were ready for the Royals. This year, I don't think anyone's going to be asking that question.
Well, Ryan, I tell you, they're coming out playing like champions. They're playing like they should be playing in the situation that they're in. So they came out and took advantage of DiNardo's wildness, and they worked him into a situation where Delmon Young was able to supply the big blow, a grand slam in the first inning to get him off and running.
5 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the fourth. Miguel Olivo reaching on a fielder's choice in the second inning. So far, the Twins getting 4 scoreless innings from Jeff Manship, who has gone more than 4 1/3 innings only once this year, and that was only 5 innings. Royals have 4 singles in the first 4 innings. Manship is without a walk, and he has 3 strikeouts. On one hop to Tolbert. 1 away. So 3 games to go, including tonight. That is for the regular season. The Twins would like to keep this building open for baseball a little longer than that. They have gotten help from the Chicago White Sox already tonight, as the White Sox went into Detroit and behind the pitching of Jake Peavy beat the Tigers 8-0. Alex Gordon up against the right field wall on his way to second base with 1 out, and that's his 6th double of the year. Tonight's Cabot Woodstain's legendary performance on this October the 2nd, 2009. Back in 1977, Dennis Leonard shutting out the Angels for his 20th win. That was the year the Royals won 102 games. Best regular season in Royals history.
And I would have to say that was a lot of fun. More fun the second half than the first half. We came out of the break 6.5 back, and then that's when we won 16 in a row, and things just got started the right way for us.
Delman Young a little late getting into the corner. 0-2 to Betancourt.
And also on this date in 1981, the roof was inflated for the first time.
Really?
Yes. Oh, we're inside today too, Ryan, but I have to tell you, my watch says a full moon outside, so.
One last moon report for the season.
One last go. And we talked a lot about MVPs in this series also. You know, Mauer possible to be an MVP. You know, I was an MVP in 1980, but yeah, I looked up something here, and I've got something that fits you.
Oh, boy.
And this is in 1993.
Okay.
Where you won the MVP award, the Richard Chief Siebert MVP award at the University of Minnesota.
Yes. Who the heck told you that?
Well, you've been saying things about me all year and that I didn't know about. And I said, yeah, Ryan, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I played 2,300 games, so I don't remember. I don't remember what I did, but I said, you know, Ryan's got to have something back there in the closet that I can dig up. So,
and believe me, that was in the back of the closet.
So I said, I mean, you give everybody all the kudos for what they do, and you sitting here, and you an MVP sitting right next to me, and not even taking credit for it. So I just wanted people to know that in 1993, you were an MVP.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Frank. And that little tidbit, along with a quarter, will get you a cup of coffee at Walmart.
And it'll taste good, too.
So Betancourt stung by a foul ball. Able to hang in there, down 1 ball, 2 strikes with Gordon at second base, 1 out. Had a good time with Joel today during Royals Live, and we took a little tour around the Metrodome, and I've been here so many times, playing at Minnesota, broadcasting for the Twins, and now 11 years with the Royals, that sometimes you have to take a moment to think about all the memories in one building. There were quite a few. Betancourt going to try and drive Gordon in. Span had a very good chance to make a throw to the plate, but in a 10-run game decides to hang on to it. 49th RBI for Betancourt, and the Royals are on the board. And with Betancourt fouling one off of his ankle earlier in that plate appearance, Trey Hillman is going to remove him, and Luis Hernandez will run at first. And that's not the only move for Trey, as Josh Anderson is going to bat for Willie Bloomquist. Willie finishes 1 for 2 with a single and a stolen base. Well, we haven't gotten a long look at Josh Anderson since coming over from the Tigers, but what do you think the Royals have learned about Josh Anderson?
Well, obviously the speed aspect of it, and he's done an okay job in center field. Probably would have been nice to see him play a lot more games in center field to get a real good read on next year. Stolen bases, he can steal bases. Now it's a matter of how consistently can he steal them if he's on base on a regular basis. How many big ones can he steal when you really need it? So I think he's just going to be one of those guys that come to spring training and battle for a job. And I don't think that you can really say that you've seen the best or the worst of Josh Anderson.
Well, there have been times we've seen him lay down some very good bunts, getting on base. 25 stolen bases with the Royals and the Tigers. He is down on strikes, 2 away in the 5th inning. Number 4 for Jeff Manship.
I think the one thing that Josh has said, that working with Rusty Kuntz has been the best experience of his professional career. He thinks he's made him a better outfielder.
Mitch Meyer is fouled out to the catcher and struck out. And Meyer, just like Anderson, having difficulty laying off that pitch. Mitch now 0 for his last 10, and on the road trip, just 1 for 13.
Mitch Meyer would probably fall in that same category. How much have we learned about Mitch Meyer in this long playing stint that he's had? And you know that he can play all the outfield positions, but if you had to play him in one, which one would be his best position? And is he destined to be another guy who will bounce around from left field, center field, right field as he has so far this season? So I guess my biggest question would be, how set are the Royals looking to get as a team, or will they continue to have a versatile team where they can mix and match throughout the season? And those are Trey's words, mix and match.
Well, Trey has said on several occasions that he would like to have a set lineup, but that there are certain guys who don't warrant being in the lineup every day at a set position. But as the year is wound down in the second half, we saw several players settle into positions. David DeJesus first, going back to the leadoff spot. Billy Butler then the number 3 hitter. Alberto Callaspo played a long stretch of games as the number 5 hitter. Mitch Meyer finishing up the season as the number 2 hitter. That is far from a set lineup, but it appears the manager has faith in more players at certain positions. Still 2-2. That is a long way from home plate, which gave that fan plenty of time to get out of the way.
Well, that's a pretty good dent in that wall out there, too, which tells the fans that, hey, I was smart. Look at the dent right over his head where the ball hit.
He thought he was the safest guy in the dome sitting at that seat. Hernandez moves up to second base.
Sometimes you just have to get out of the way.
Well, from the looks of that replay, it appears that the ball hit the wall, then he got out of the way. That is blooped into right center. The Royals are going to get their second run. So Mitch snaps the 0 for 10. And Hernandez coming around to score. It's 10-2.
Mets didn't hit this ball well. They right off the end of the bat and just looped it out in the right center field, but good enough for a base hit and an RBI.
And now visit from Rick Anderson, and Twins were hopeful for 5 innings. They weren't expecting 5 innings. That's just what they were hoping for from Manship, and it appears that's what they're going to get. And very little stress for him tonight with all the runs the Twins have scored, and that began very early with 5 in the first and 2 more in the second.
Well, I would say coming out and seeing this big crowd and knowing how important this game is, he probably had a ton of butterflies going into that first inning. But you get a big lead like he was able to work with. That's got to settle him down a little bit and allow him to go out there and do some things without as much stress as he would had it been a close ball game.
A little bit outside to Billy Butler. Single in the first inning, grounded out to short in the fourth. Two and 0. Tomorrow the Royals will face Nick Blackburn, who is 11-11, and of course Zach going for the Royals at 16-8. Don't forget tomorrow's game is at 3. It'll say 6 o'clock on your original schedule, but the game moved to accommodate the Fox network. Meyer out at second base. Royals get 2 in the 5th inning. It's time to bring you up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Josh Anderson stays in the game in center field. Orlando Cabrera rolls to Luis Hernandez, who stays in the game as shortstop. Mitch Myers started in center field, so he'll move over to left. There's Hernandez at short. And with one out, fans begin to chant MVP as Joe Mauer bats for the fourth time, a single, a walk, a strikeout. He scored a run in the first inning. The Twins' last MVP was Justin Morneau in 2006, and the Royals may have played a small role in that. That was the year the Royals went into Detroit and they swept the Tigers. All the Tigers had to do was win one game, and they would have won the division. But the Royals sent the Tigers to the wild card. The Twins winning the division in 06, and I'm sure that helps in the voting when a team has a great year and his team wins the division. So my question for you, if the Twins do not end up winning the division this year, do you think that hurts Joe Mauer's chances of winning the MVP?
Not a chance.
Really?
No.
Well, he strikes out for the second time. That's 2 straight games. The Royals have struck out Mauer twice. The game that Greinke started on Sunday in Kansas City, Mauer struck out 2 times, both times against Zach.
Yeah, I just don't think the Twins would have been able to do what they were able to do when Morneau was out, and without him being in the lineup and being as consistent as he's been, I just don't think they would be where they are today without him. You know, when you talk about catching MVPs and you think about Yogi Berra, and he was a 3-time MVP with the Yankees, but you know he had 6 seasons where he had actually more home runs than strikeouts. That's hard to do. And he had 3 MVP titles on top of that. So Mauer would be more of a throwback to Yogi Berra in terms of a catcher who can catch a lot of games, have a lot of plate appearances, and be productive at the same time.
2-2 on Kubel. He has driven in 2, and he's hit his 25th home run of the year. John Buck brought up an interesting point talking to Dick Cagle at Royals.com, and he has all the respect in the world for Joe Mauer, but he wonders if Mauer will be able to stay as strong in the new ballpark as he has been able to here, because there's no hot days in the Metrodome, there are no cold days in the Metrodome. He doesn't deal with the artificial surface. He is standing in the dirt all the time. And again, he might be the best hitter in the American League. He might have the best swing in all of baseball. But half of his games are in absolutely ideal weather conditions.
Now, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think his swing's going to change, but like you say, April, he's in the dome. September, he's in the dome. If they're in the postseason, he's in the dome. So, but some of those games are also going to be outside when it's cold also. So I think he's just got such a good approach to hitting that I think he'll still be just as effective.
I agree. outdoor baseball. That is Wally the Beer Man, who has been in the Twin Cities sports scene for a long time. All venues, Metrodome, University of Minnesota events, minor league baseball. He is a big fan favorite around here, and he had the honor of removing number 3.
All right, we go into the 6th. The Royals are trailing 10-3, and this is our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Rick France from Edwardsville, Kansas. If the Royals hit a home run this inning, Rick will win $1,300. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Rick will win $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals.
Brian Pena grounded into a double play in the first inning. That was the Royals' first scoring opportunity against Manship. First and third, one out. The Royals had a chance to do something right away, but Manship getting Pena roll into a 4-6-3 double play, and then he got him to ground out to short in the 4th. Royals getting their 2 runs in the 5th. Betancourt and Meyer driving in runs. Two and two. Well, this is much more than the Twins were hoping for. First of all, Chicago goes into Detroit and beats the Tigers 8-0. Now the Twins have an 8-run lead, and they might get 6 innings out of Jeff Manship. Pena, who is nicknamed by his Braves teammates the Cuban Ichiro, shows why with a leadoff single. Here's Manship's pitch count, brought to you by James B. Nutter and Company. 87, which doesn't sound like a lot for a starter, but he has been pitching quite a bit out of the bullpen as well. And as a starter, only going about 77 pitches per start. So the Twins are stretching him a bit, but he has a nice 8-run cushion. Alberto Callaspo has singled, flied to center, batting at .299. .11 home runs, 72 driven in. Did not have one single major league home run coming into this year, and has hit 11. 1-2. Jesse Crain just starting to loosen up in the Minnesota bullpen. I imagine the new ballpark will have better bullpens. These are on the warning tracks. Out at second base, and Punto not going to take any chances. Didn't get the grip he wanted, so he hangs on to it. 1 on, 1 out.
Well, this is what you call managing the game right here, Ryan. Just not trying to do too much. Just take the out, take what's given to you, and wait for the next play. Well, I agree with you on those bullpens. If you can get the bullpens out of the field of play, it's so much better. And another thing, too, if you get a front row seat in the Metrodome, that's a long way up. That's a lot of steps to climb to get back to the top again.
That was really the only place to put the bullpens because of all the seats that they have to move around to accommodate a football game. There just really isn't an area to put a bullpen. The seats behind the baggie in right field come down, and some people think that this is a good place for baseball because it's given the Twins such a great home field advantage. Most people think that it's a bad place for baseball. It is an outstanding football stadium. It is designed for football, and they just kind of cram in baseball, the exact opposite of the old Met Stadium. But the Twins won't have to worry about that next year.
Well, some cold games in the old man, football games. And you still see Bud Grant. You still see the steam coming up off the field. And you always wonder, how can they stand and fall on that frozen field all day long? Some very cold days outside for football here.
Yeah, think about it. The other multi-purpose field that we see in our league in Oakland, the bullpens are very similar. They're a little further away from the lines than here, but they are not tucked away anywhere. There's just simply no place to put them. Well, Manship might be starting to fade in the 6th inning. A single and a walk, and Ron Gardenhire thinks so. Either way, Manship should get a nice round of applause filling in as a starter. And he gets the game into the 6th. He departs with an 8-run lead.
Now pitching for the Twins, number 37, Ron Mayhew.
Who's just happy to be in the big leagues and is looking for his first big league win. He is fine with that. As the Twins still lead by 6, but the Royals with 2 in the 5th inning, 2 more in this. And it's former Royal Ron Mayhew coming on to face left-hand hitting Josh Anderson. And that's into shallow left center field again. Now it is 10-5. So the Royals with 5 runs in the last 2 innings. And they have cut the deficit in half.
Yeah, Ryan, unless I've learned, I just haven't learned what the backup responsibilities are for pitchers. The Twin pitchers just don't want to get behind home plate and back up a throw to the plate. Ron Mayhew also stayed in the line and cut this throw. He should be coming down behind home plate in case of an overthrow from the left fielder. But he, just like Crane, are standing right there in the middle of the field for no apparent reason.
Now, of all the teams you would expect that from, the Twins would be on the bottom of the list.
Definitely.
Now another hit, and all of a sudden, this becomes an uncomfortable night for the Twins and their fans. They were on their way to a very easy victory tonight with a 10-0 lead after getting 3 runs in the 4th inning. One and one. Mitch driving in a run in the 5th inning. He's 1 for 3. That base hit ended in 0 for 10 for him. Delman Young the closest, but he won't get there. The last time Ron Mayhew faced the Royals back in Kansas City, he threw inside to a couple of hitters, Mitch Meyer and then Billy Butler. And then a warning was issued by the home plate umpire. Out came Ron Gardenhire, and he was thrown out of the game. Still 1-2. Very similar to the Boston series when Anthony LaRue was warned after missing up and into Mike Lowell, and that got Trey Hillman thrown out of the game. That's some sort of an odd wire coming out of his jersey. Again, a bloop. Left field side. This is foul. The Royals are just wearing out shallow left field. So Myers still alive at 1-2. Still alive.
Well, Mitch is one of those hitters, Ryan, where if you keep the ball down and middle lane, he can get around and pull that ball. And if you keep it out over the plate, he likes to extend and hit the ball the other way. But you get it in on his hands up a little bit, that's when he gets jammed.
Strikes him out. Royals get 3. It's a 5-run game to the bottom of the 6th. Time for the Coors Light freeze cam, and Delmon Young going from the man being hit one day to the hit man tonight, and hitting a grand slam and a 5-run bottom of the first inning. Minnesota with a 10-0 lead early on, but the Royals have scored 5 in the last 2 innings. And now Michael Cuddyer is out in a ground ball. Cuddyer retired for the first time after walking in his first 3 plate appearances. And now here is Delmon Young, who added another RBI in the second, giving him a career high 5. Oh, 2 from Carlos Rosa to Delmon Young. Minnesota getting 7 of their runs off of Lenny DiNardo, 3 against Victor Marte. Carlos Rosa has come on to face 7 and retire 7. On the ground to Gordon. On the money to Butler. So Rosa has retired 8 in a row. Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Panera Bread. Explore a menu full of soup, salads, sandwiches, and savory breakfast items. Panera Bread, where every detail matters. And now Brendan Harris, who doubled off the baggie in the 4th inning. That was the final hitter against Victor Marte. Harris 1 for 3. He had a tough day on defense in Detroit yesterday, committing 2 errors. Twins with 4 errors, but beat Detroit 8-3. You and I watched that game, not together, but in separate places. One of the errors by Harris, a pop-up to the pitcher, and he would have had an easy play, but Harris came bolting over from third, called him off. Pitcher wouldn't have had to move, and Harris had to come running behind the mound, reaching. The ball went in and out of his glove, and which begs the question, why can't a pitcher catch a pop-up?
Well, I think if you're a third baseman and you're playing deep and you got to make that long run, I know you want to call a pitcher off when you can, but Guerrero called for the ball, so why not just let him catch the ball? Now Cuddyer, if he's anticipating and not making that catch, he had a good chance to make a second grab and catch it before it hit the ground.
Carlos Rosa's done a nice job. He is faced 9, retired 9. Coming out in the 2nd inning, gave up 7 runs, 5 earned. He gave up a grand slam to Delman Young in the 1st, the Twins scoring 5. Royals getting 2 runs in the 5th, 3 more in the 6th. Luis Hernandez coming on as a pinch runner in the 5th with a 2-run single in the 6th inning. Carlos Rosa has retired all 9 that he has faced, and the Twins know that the White Sox have already beaten the Tigers, so they are down by a game and a half, hoping to make it 1 game. They have 9 outs to go on defense, and in the 7th inning it'll be Billy Butler, Brian Pena, and Alberto Callaspo against Bobby Keppel, who once pitched for the Royals. Billy 1 for 3, singled back in the 1st inning, hitting at .306. Oh, and 2. Bobby Keppel back in 2006. Pitched in 8 games for the Royals, made 6 starts. He gets Billy Butler. That is 7 strikeouts for Minnesota pitching tonight. Bobby Keppel, originally from the Mets organization. He was taken in the first round, a supplemental first round pick back in 2000. Off the plate, nobody is at first base. Cuddyer racing back just in time to get Pena.
Yeah, Ryan, that's where you talk about knowing exactly where you are on the field and being an outfielder coming to first base. This is a ball that's right over the mound, and Cuddyer should go right to the bag on this play, but I don't know how he figured he could have made the play on this ball. So that's just kind of knowing where you should be on every play. Good recovery on this part. But I'm sure there was a lot of panic inside of him, too.
Oh, 1 to Callaspo. 1 for 3 tonight. He has scored a run. He is at 298.
I think the Royals really overall have to be, I won't say excited, but they gotta be pleased with the offense that Alberto Callaspo's provided this year. I mean, he's given them a lot more than they really could have imagined with the extra home runs, the doubles. He wasn't just a singles hitter for this season. He showed them everything that he needed to show them to show that he could be a productive player with a lot of playing time.
And we showed you this earlier. Callaspo is not living on a hot streak. He's done it in the first half. He's done it in the second half. I mean, you can't get more consistent than that. Some guys have 1 or 2 good months, and they live off those 2 months. But Callaspo has been steady all 6 months, and now he has a 2-hit game.
And we talked a little bit in some earlier broadcasts about the fact that coming out of spring training, he was the guy without a job. I mean, he was going to be that guy that Trey Hillman was going to have a hard time finding playing time for. Mark Teahen had moved to second base. Bloomquist was here. And then Alex goes down, and it just opens things up for him. And when he went in there, he just started hitting right away, and he's been there ever since.
I'll admit, I was someone who went on the record and said, I don't know how you keep Alberto Callaspo if he doesn't play every day. Because he's not a guy you bring in for defense. If you pinch hit, use him as a pinch hitter late in the game, well, then you have to replace him with a pinch runner. But as it turned out, he's playing every day and hitting right around 300.
Well, I mean, you're saying that because you're thinking about a team that's going to compete, a team that's going to compete for the division title. So obviously you would think that way. If you're a team that is not looking to elevate yourself in the division, then you probably think totally the other way.
One and 2 to Teahen, who has singled and walked tonight, scored a run.
But one thing that won't change in the game of baseball, the teams that win are the teams that pitch and play defense. And if you can do those 2 things, and you can do some timely hitting and some fundamental things to manufacture some runs along the way, then you're going to compete in most every game you go out and play.
Pulled slowly to Punto, and that's the end. Stretch time with 40,000 here tonight. Minnesota leads by 5. Well, there's David DeJesus, not quite ready to play yet, but at least back with the Royals after being out with the flu. 10-5 Minnesota. Panera takes us around the American League. Baltimore's won 2 in a row after snapping a long losing streak yesterday. There's the game that everyone in Minnesota is watching. Chicago beating Detroit 8-0. Boston over Cleveland. That's good news for the Royals, as the Royals are trying to finish out of last place. Against John Bale, Tolbert lines to center. Anderson doesn't get it. And that is a deep left center field at the Metrodome. Tolbert was thinking about circling the bases, but was held up by Scott Olger.
There's fastball out over the plate, Ryan. Josh Anderson really didn't take a good route for this ball. You can see how he started over, then he tried to adjust back, and the ball beat him to that spot, and that's why the ball was able to get over his head. Just didn't take a good deep route to begin with after that fly ball.
So John Bale back in there. He went down with a hamstring injury on September the 5th, and it was believed by most that he was done for the year.
So when you're an outfielder, Ryan, if you're going to play shallow in the outfield, you got to be able to take good routes. I mean, there's no ifs and ands about it. You know, you can play deep, and then you can cut across and do what you need to do. But when most of these line drives you have to go back on, that first step has got to be in the right direction. You got to try to meet a ball to a point. You won't have a chance to go across and then adjust backwards on a line drive.
And now with Punto at the plate, all three Royals outfielders are shallow, very shallow, and way over to the right. The Royals are absolutely convinced that Nick Punto is not going to pull the ball. The Vikings and the Packers could play a game in between Mitch Meyer and the left field line.
That means John Bale cannot throw a curveball here or anything off speed. He's got to keep his fastball to the outer half of the plate.
Got him looking. Well, he pitched inside. Punto wasn't ready for it. So runner at third, one out. Been a tough year for John Bale. It's been a long time now, but you remember he started the season on the disabled list after having thyroid surgery and was back middle to late May. So he lost that chunk of the season, and then injuring the hamstring after delivering a pitch on September the 5th, and could barely get off the field. Olivo down to third. Denard Span, 1 for 4, doubled and scored in the second inning. On Saturday against the Royals in Kansas City, he had 6 RBIs, a career high. A career high for his life. He said he had never had 6 RBIs in a game. Little League, Pony League, high school, minor leagues, you name it.
He said the one part of his game he wants to improve next year is stolen bases. You know, that percentage. Here now he's that's right around 500, but he wants to be a better base stealer going into next season.
Double play. Denard Span led Alex Gordon perfectly to the bag at third base, and John Bale gets out of it. Josie will join the Royals and the Twins. Coming up during the offseason, why don't you sign up for the Royals Report? It's free. It's delivered right to your inbox every week. You'll get exclusive inside the clubhouse stories. You'll find photo galleries and video highlights and have the first access to ticket deals. Royals Report is your connection to the game during the season and beyond. Bobby Keppel throwing a scoreless seventh. Will stay on for the eighth with Miguel Olivo, Alex Gordon, and Luis Hernandez coming up. Minnesota got 5 1/3 from Jeff Manship. He gave up 4, although 2 of those runs scored after he left the game. Jesse Crain gave up a run in a third of an inning. Ron Mayhay pitched a third of an inning. Royals at the end of 4 innings were down 10-0. 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th. Up the middle and past Cabrera. Remember, the Royals Pro Shop is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The best selection of official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Great gift ideas with the holidays coming up. Get your gear straight from the source, the Royals.com shop. So there you go. You get a youngster a brand new glove, and how about a Royals cap to go with it?
The two go together.
Alex Gordon has scored twice. He's been on base with a double and a walk. And I'm sure just turned one of the more unique double plays of his career as Denard Span with a little half swing soft liner to third and with a runner at third that led Alex to the bag perfectly for a double play.
You won't find an easier double play for a third baseman with a runner on third. Everything's going right for everybody except for the base runner and the hitter.
It was like a quarterback throwing the ball to the receiver right on the line, keeping his feet in.
It just couldn't get any better than that.
Getting to the first down marker before the defensive back can get there.
And that's one of the more rare double plays that you see during the course of the season. You can see line drives all over the place, but rarely you see a line drive to a third baseman where he forces the guy at third.
Just missed.
I don't think the fans of Minnesota could have asked for a better weekend of sports. You know, with 3 games here with the Twins, with what they've got on the line, and Monday Night Football with Brett Favre and the Packers.
What about the Gophers and the University of Minnesota tomorrow?
I'm not a big college guy.
Yeah, but we're not talking about you. We're talking about Minnesota fans.
Well, see, I don't follow college, though. I didn't go, so I don't follow it.
Well, believe me.
That's a big
believe
game.
me.
That's a big game, especially when it's the Gophers and the Badgers. You know, that's got to be huge. I know you and Joel will be texting each other throughout the course of that game.
Them is fighting words. Luis Hernandez coming up. Jose Majares coming in.
So much for touching the left arm for the lefty.
So Jose Mijares, and we talked about it earlier in the game tonight, throwing behind Adam Everett in Detroit yesterday. And then in the next half inning, the Tigers' Jeremy Bonderman drilling Delmon Young. Delmon Young furious, not at Bonderman, at Mijares. And as the Twins felt like Mijares, with a selfish act of throwing behind Adam Everett in a blowout game. And that began the chain of events that resulted in Delmon Young taking one off the leg. And now Luis Hernandez is hit by a pitch. And Delmon Young better beware. We're going to get him. I'll bet Denard's fans yelling over at him, "You're dead, buddy." Well, the Royals have the bases loaded, nobody out, and the top of the order coming up.
This is a breaking ball right in on that back leg, just above the knee. And that's a paralyzing effect for a minute. Yeah, as I said earlier, that's the first time I've seen both benches empty for a guy charging his own bench.
And now Mijares all over the place. Well, anytime you see a guy get hit by a pitch and slam his helmet into the ground and start yelling, you would assume that he's yelling at the opposing pitcher, but he was yelling at Mijares, so that's why the Tigers started coming out of the dugout. But Delmon Young never made a move for the mound. He was directing his frustration at his own dugout. Two and 0. And now Matt Guerrier. 2-1. Who would have thought, even knowing that Jeff Manship wouldn't go that deep for Ron Gardenhire, that he might have to use 6 pitchers in a game where he once had a 10-0 lead.
And it's probably going to be this way every day this weekend. It's whoever's got the hot hand. He's not going to take a chance on hoping that somebody can work themselves through a situation. He's going to try to control it himself, and that's the best way I think he can handle that situation.
Anderson hit for Bloomquist in the 5th, struck out, and singled home a run in the 6th. Now it's against another left-hand pitcher, former Royal Ron Mayhay. On the corner. Now Anderson might not like the call, but that's way too close to take with the bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, you got to be trying to foul that ball off and try to get a better pitch. You just can't eyeball that ball with 2 strikes, Ryan. Anything close with 2 strikes, you got to try to put the bat on the ball.
Well, he went after that pitch. Now 1-0 to Mitch Meyer.
Well, that's the difference between hitters that can drive in runs and hitters that don't. Hitters that drive in runs figure out a way to foul that ball off or figure out a way to put it in play. Guys who try to be too fine and try to make the ball in one spot, those are the guys that don't come through in those situations.
Olivo at third base singled. Gordon at second base singled. And Hernandez at first hit by a pitch. Two and 1. It was not supposed to be this stressful for Ron Gardenhire. At least Not after the Twins took the field in the top of the 5th inning with a 10-0 lead. Bobby Keppel pitched the scoreless 7th. Gave up 2 hits in this inning, and then Maharis coming on to hit Luis Hernandez. Anderson is struck out. Bases loaded, 1 away for Meyer. 2-2.
That was the same exact pitch that Anderson was struck out on. So if he gets in that same zone, Mitch is going to have to try to foul this ball off.
And that's what he did.
Don't leave it in the hands of the umpire. When you do that, you're asking for trouble. So control your own destiny when you're at the plate.
Close, but a full count. Into center field. Olivo scores. Here comes Gordon around third. And all of a sudden it's a 3-run game. Meyer is driven in 3 tonight.
They tried to get that same fastball away, and Mitch stayed with it, and they hit it back through the middle. He fouled the one previous off, and they got that one and just drove it right through the middle. Good job of hitting by Mitch Meyer.
So Ron Gartenhire will use his 6th pitcher, Matt Guerrier, to face Billy Butler.
Now pitching for the Twins, number 54, Matt Guerrier.
So Billy Butler facing Matt Guerrier. Guerrier is the 6th Twins pitcher, and he's the 3rd pitcher in this inning. Royals has scored 2. Mitch Meyer driving in a couple with the bases loaded, and now Butler representing the tying run. That was not a strike. So instead of the count being 2-0, it's 1-1. Another very good year for Matt Guerrier, a pitcher Minnesota picked up off of waivers a few years ago from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Billy back in the first inning singled. He is 1 for 4. He is 4 out of 9 against Guerrier. Billy has Hernandez at second base, Meyer at first. Two and two. Royals didn't score a single run in the first 4 innings, and now they have 7 runs in the last 4 innings.
They've been staying primarily away with Billy, just breaking balls away, fastballs away, just trying to get him to reach a little bit more in this game tonight.
Struck him out. Oh, that's the guy the Royals wanted at the plate. And Guerrier comes up with a big strikeout, and now it's up to Brian Pena. That message was for, I believe, Michael Kadire, and where he wants Kadire to play over at first base. And then Kadire immediately passing on some information to second baseman Nick Punto. Kadire really guarding the line over on the right side. Pena with a 6th inning single.
Yeah, Brian, I tell you, we can go down the third base line too, and he's just one of those guys that he doesn't hit a lot of balls right inside, but we'll go down the third base line.
Span runs it down in center field. Royals make it a 3-run game after Meyer's 2-run single. Submitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Yasuhiko Yabuda on for the bottom of the 8th to face Orlando Cabrera, Joe Mauer, and Jason Kubel. 1-1 on Cabrera, who has 2 hits. He has scored twice. So he has a streak of 13 consecutive games where he has at least 1 hit and 1 run scored. That's the longest since Kirby Puckett once had a streak of 14 consecutive games. That is one person who will be sorely missed when they close down this Metrodome. Of all the Twins in their history, nobody provided more thrills in this stadium than Kirby Puckett, who passed away a few years ago with big hits, big plays on defense, inducted into the Hall of Fame. The street outside the Metrodome is known as Kirby Puckett Place. That, folks, is a busted bat. Orlando Cabrera can take that back to Colombia in the offseason and throw it in his fireplace.
Oh, really? I don't think it quite gets cold enough.
Our next broadcast in high definition will be opening day 2010, April the 5th. Royals and the Tigers. Royals in HD all season long. Brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable.
You know, Kirby was such a big influence, not only on his teammates, but the young guys coming up. And I remember when Torrey Hunter and Jock Jones came through, and Toby would bring him. Kirby would take him everywhere he went, and he would make him call everybody Mr. He said, this is Mr. White, and I want you to always refer to him as Mr. White. And Torrey to this day still says the same thing. So he taught the young guys the right way.
Kirby died suddenly of a stroke in March of 2006. And he may have, we talked about Jack Morris and his performance in Game 7 of the '91 World Series, but he may have single-handedly gotten the Twins into Game 7. Remember, he made that great catch up against the plexiglass late in the game in Game 6 to save it, and then a walk-off home run off of Charlie Leibrandt, who once pitched for the Royals, which gave way to Jack Buck's final call on CBS TV, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Well, he made a lot of great catches, and that's why when you see Torrey Hunter, when he played here and he'd go back on the baggie and make great plays, Kirby would do that routinely. And I remember him being a rookie, he couldn't pull a ball. And I used to sit over and play him like a left-handed pull hitter. And then as he got older and more mature, then he started to get stronger, hit home runs. But here, he's got more infield base hits on that old turf here. He'd hit a ball in front of plate, it won't stop, and then it wouldn't come down to it in center field.
My first year broadcasting the Twins was his last year with the Twins, and his final plate appearance, you remember this, he was hit in the face by Dennis Martinez. And I don't know if there was a right-hand batter that hung in there better against right-hand pitching than Kirby Puckett. He was convinced it was going to be a breaking ball, so he just stood there like a statue, and it ended up hitting him on the left side of the face. He was done for the '95 season, and then went to spring training in 1996 and was diagnosed with glaucoma, and that actually ended his career, not related to the Martinez beaning. And it was a shame that his career came to an end. He was still a Hall of Famer. But in '96, Paul Molitor, who was from this area and went to the University of Minnesota, the Twins were really excited about having Molitor and Puckett on the same field, playing for the same team. But as it turned out, they were only able to play spring training games together. And boy, Twins doctors, they found every eye specialist on the planet to try and help out Kirby Puckett, but he wasn't able to play in another regular season game. And now the big hero in Minnesota is this guy, who grew up down the road in St. Paul, went to St. Paul Cretin-Durham High School, the same high school that produced Paul Molitor. And on Sunday, it'll be official. He will have his 3rd batting title in 4 years. It's an amazing accomplishment, I think, for anyone to win that many batting titles in a short period of time. But remember, the first year he won it in 06, it was the first time ever a catcher won a batting title in the American League, and the first time in either league since 1942, which gets us back to John Buck's point. How much has playing in the Metrodome with the perfect conditions? 81 games a year. Helped Mauer. Deep center. Anderson runs it down on the track.
Well, we know he's got a good swing, and we know he's got good power, and he takes Anderson about as far as he can go in center field before he makes his catch.
And let me also say now what I said a few innings ago. John Buck takes nothing away from Joe Mauer. I mean, who wouldn't want to have his swing? I mean, he is, whether he plays here or at the North Pole, as one of the best swings on the planet. But it's an interesting thing to consider. A long season, and it's even longer for a catcher with all that squatting behind home plate, wearing that catcher's gear in the middle of the summer.
Well, the old saying goes, we will see.
And we will see what happens in the 9th as the Royals come up against Joe Nathan. Last chance for Royals fans to watch baseball indoors in Minnesota. And last chance for the Royals coming up in the 9th inning. After the game, it's Boulevard Royals Live. Brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer. Interviews with Joel Goldberg, reaction from the Royals clubhouse, and analysis with Frank. Carlos Gomez now in center field. And Denard Span moves from center to right. So Kubel is out. And it's Joe Nathan pitching to Alberto Callaspo. So Nathan going for his 46th save. He has 33 against the Royals. Callaspo with 2 hits and a run scored. He is at .299. While you were away, the Royals scored 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, 2 in the 8th to go from down 10-0 to 10-7. And because of that, Ron Gardenhire has had to use 7 pitchers. One away. Martin on base twice with a single and a walk. .46 saves for Joe Nathan would add to his career high. Cabrera off of his glove. That might be his second error of the game. Ball was hit very hard, but Cabrera didn't have to go very far.
No, he just didn't get his glove down on this play. This is definitely a catchable ball.
And it is an error on Cabrera, who committed an error back in the second inning. That did not lead to a run. 6 errors for Minnesota in their last 2 games. Royals need one more base runner. Olivo singled and scored leading off the 8th inning. The Royals getting 2 runs, but we're hoping for more, knowing that they'd have to face Nathan in the 9th. 0-2. There's a nice play in the lower level. A fan brought his glove and played the ricochet off the facing of the upper deck perfectly. With his AC/DC shirt. He's not old enough to know who AC/DC is. His bandana and his hat.
You get a lot of fans out in the bleachers who catch the home run balls in certain stadiums, and they throw the ball back on the field. You wonder why they don't just throw the foul balls back on the field, too.
That's hit off the visiting player as well.
Then I know they do something about it at that point.
Struck him out. 2 down. The Royals are 4-2 in the Metrodome this year, and they have 90 wins in their history. That is second only to the Minnesota Twins. So after the Twins, the Royals with the most wins, but with their 90 wins, the Royals are still 20 games below 500. This is a tough place to play for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Tian takes off for second base. It's strike 1 on Gordon, who has scored 3 times tonight. And now Joe Mauer wants to go over the signs with a runner at second. And while we have a moment, I just want to thank some very important people with Fox Sports Kansas City. This is our last broadcast. Our producer, Kevin Shank, our director, Steve Kurtenbach, our associate producers, Sam Abramson and Al Broughton, our stage manager back in Kansas City, Mike Doc Carruthers, our Royals live producer, TJ McGinnis. Tough year for the Royals, but we sure had a lot of fun covering them. We have a great crew, both with our traveling party and our extended crew when we're at Kauffman Stadium. And we're going to be looking forward to seeing all those familiar faces again on April the 5th. 1-1 to Alex Gordon. And while I have a moment, it was a joy working with you. You were supposed to work 40 games this year, and you worked 139.
Well, I don't think I would have got through them all without you, Ron. I tell you, You've done so much along with all the guys that you named to make this a very enjoyable season for me, and I got so much input, so much feedback, and I had a lot of nights in the rooms thinking about the next game. So I just learned the ins and outs of this business a little bit better, and you guys just helped me just be more prepared all the time. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Frank, and I can speak for all of us that we sure learned a lot about the game from you this year. There were many times where we would be on the bus after a game or on the airplane or walking in the parking lot at home going, how about that point that Frank made? I never thought of that before. So we're all a little wiser because of number 20, Smooth.
We got 2 MVPs in the booth. How can you go wrong? Thanks, fans.
Two and two.
It should be an interesting offseason when this is all said and done, and see what moves the Royals make to get better next year going forward. And those are the things that, guys like you and I, we watch as different situations arise and different moves are made. And we, like anybody else, we get our pencils and paper out. We start putting names all over the place. And that's what's the fun part about the offseason, getting ready for spring training.
Full count on Alex. Well, I think it's going to be a more challenging offseason for Dayton Moore. Players like Mike Jacobs, who's on deck. Dayton was more or less able to add last year. He did have to make some deals, but this year I think there's going to be more difficult decisions for him than there were last offseason.
Well, there's 2 Septembers in a row where the club played well, and you just have to distinguish between everything that you've seen and really just decide what kind of team you want to have going forward. And I think those decisions should come pretty easy.
Tolbert takes a basket catch. Ron Gardenhire can't believe it, but he'll take it. So Minnesota is a third of the way home. In order to win the division, they need to sweep the Royals, and the White Sox need to sweep the Tigers.